Hey, welcome to another episode of Wholesaling the Cool Way. I'm Mark Cool, and I'm here with my son Jasper Cool. We are real estate investors, and we do this every week. Talk about primarily about wholesaling real estate, but some other strategies too, and tools and tips and tricks and stories from the field, and just trying to share our journey with anybody else who's on the path to um, improving your life through real estate investing and making more money and all that. So this year, we haven't done this before, but we decided we would do a year-end episode. So that's what we're going to do today. We're just going to go through a few categories, sort of our best of the year, and share some of the things that have worked for us. And hopefully that benefits anyone who's listening too. So, hey, Jasper, good to see you after the Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we got a chance to talk a little bit offline. I got to hear about your Christmas and stuff, so it's fun. Jasper's in Arizona, and I'm in North Carolina, so it's a chance for us to catch up too, which is really nice. So I'll just start off with some of the categories that I have. You ready to jump into some categories, Jasper, and go over some of these?
Oh yeah, I got my notes in front of me. I'm ready to roll.
All right, let's see. So the first one I have here is for 2024, the best new services or apps or platforms of the year. And I also put as you're sharing, say whether it's a game changer or not. Like there are a couple things on my list that are definitely game changers. So like just make a note of that. Like this thing was a game changer for me. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you up for jumping in on that one, leading off?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I didn't have too many here. I just wrote down 6, but one of them was one I heard from you, which is called Express MLS Listings. So I've actually used them quite a bit in the fourth quarter, and it's helped us so far. We're 2 for 3. So with 3 listings, I've sold 2 of them, and we had like pretty much no offers from our off market like investors. And so that's a huge win. And I'm actually listing a 4th this week. So we'll see if we can go 3 for 4. But that's been great. And like I said, 2 out of 3. So I think combined on those 2 deals, we made about 30,000. And so, that's money that we wouldn't have made otherwise. And it's only $200 to list on the service. So huge ROI there. So yeah, I wanted to share that with anyone. I don't think they're nationwide though. I think they're only in the Southeast right now. I think they're in like North Carolina and a few other states in the Southeast, if I'm correct. But they are in North Carolina. So if you're listening and you're working there, you can definitely use them. And another one that I've just keep coming back to, it's not a new service, but it is a game changer for me, is Velocity REOs. And that's a photography company that basically takes pictures nationwide of properties, and not just take pictures. They can kind of do a variety of things for you. But for us, we typically use them for taking pictures of properties we get under contract, just simple photos to send to our buyers. And they're very affordable. They're usually somewhere around $30 for pictures, which is awesome. And they're just iPhone pictures. They're nothing crazy, but they're good enough. And we also use them for like exterior photos. Like sometimes a seller might be living out of state, and obviously I'm living out of state. So sometimes they don't know what a property might look like, and we use it for that. And for the exterior pictures only, like for someone to just drive by, take some pictures of the neighborhood and pictures of the house, that's like $20 or less. So we use that quite a bit when, like I said, when a seller might be out of town and they don't know the condition. Sometimes I can help build rapport where we're like, hey, we went and looked at the property. This is what your property looks like. And because of that, this is our estimated offer. And sometimes I can help us win the deal. So I would definitely recommend that. And like I said, they're pretty much nationwide. They're not as much like in the rural areas, but if you're in a major metro, they'll definitely be able to help you out. So, and then next one that I've been talking about quite a bit is easy texting. So that's been a huge game changer for us on the buyer side. And we're not using that for like mass campaigns or anything like that. We just use it to send out a text blast every time we get a new property for sale. And I've just noticed a huge increase in activity and buyer offers ever since we started using that. I think it's been coming up on about a month now that we've used that. And besides those deals that I mentioned that we listed on MLS, we've sold every deal that we sent out on easy text. And so I think those deals just weren't the best deals anyways to begin with. But we've gotten a lot more offers, a lot more activity and everything using that. So that's been a huge game changer. What was that?
Oh, I said that's awesome. Yeah, it's great to hear that that's been such a game changer for you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so then last couple, I'll just run through. Investor Base has been awesome for us. We use that to help find buyers, and then we call them and we text blast them to hit them on both sides. And we also use it when we're not sure about comping on a specific property. We'll look at Investor Base to kind of double check and see what buyers might be paying in that area. So that's been a very valuable tool and way more affordable than any of the other tools that are comparable to it. So that's been nice. And then I touched on this offline before we jumped on, but the pay-per lead companies that I've been using have been doing much better for us in the fourth quarter. And maybe it's just because I'm putting more focus on it. But right now we're using one that's called propertyleads.com and another one called motivatedsellers.com. And right now, motivatedsellers.com is better for us. It's giving us more leads. But property leads, the leads are of great quality. I'm just not getting that many. And so with motivated sellers, you can set your minimum bid to $75. So you have to pay at least that amount, but that's not too bad when you're thinking of online leads. You know, some companies charge you hundreds. And so for me, I just keep my bid at 75 and I just checkbox all the counties that I'm interested in. And all you do is you just get a lead in that county every time they get one. So it's awesome. And you don't have to, like some people, when you do a campaign, you might be targeting the whole state or a couple states, or sometimes people do nationwide, and you might get leads where you don't really want them. But in this case, you can choose exact counties that work the best for you. So I really like that. So yeah, that's been awesome. And we got a deal locked up this month from the Motivated Sellers company that I talked about, and we've only gotten 10 leads. And we got one contract. So that's huge for me. I mean, hopefully we can keep those numbers up, but if that's going to stay consistent and we can get one deal for every 10 leads, that's fantastic. So that's exciting.
That's a great ROI. I keep muting my mic because there's a thunderstorm, so I don't want the rain to be coming through. But that's a great ROI so far.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you think about it, that's only $750 for a contract. That's great. That's way cheaper than texting. Even though the leads are more expensive on the front end, you know, we talked about this before, but the leads are more expensive initially, but then if you're getting every 10, that's huge. And maybe that won't continue. You know, I'll keep everyone updated, but right now that's where we're at. So
it's still cheaper than texting or cold calling.
yeah, by far.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited to continue that. And, you know, depending on how it goes, I might increase my bid because I believe, you know, the more you pay for leads, like they send you more leads because you're like the top bidder or whatever. So I might do that going into next year. We'll see. And then last one I want to share is actually Podio, which is just I've dived into learning more about Podio and also hired a developer, you know, part-time, not like full-time. But with between me learning more about it and hiring this guy who's really helpful on Upwork on like a per project basis, my Podio has gotten pretty dialed, and we have a bunch of automations. And it's just, you know, I shared with you before, I think offline, but it's Podio calculates it, and it's something like 300, 400 hours that they say that we're saving every month from these automations. So I don't know if that's accurate, but even if half of that is true and we're saving a couple hundred hours, you know, that's huge.
Yeah.
So that's been huge for me, just diving into all the different automations and workflows that you can do. And, you know, now when we get an online lead, it's immediately texting the seller, it's immediately sending the seller an email. And before we even speak to them, they already have both those resources that tell them about our company, so that, you know, hopefully it's more likely they'll go with us. So that's just one example, but I have, you know, a bunch of these different things going on all the time. So it's awesome. But yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. I'm excited to try some of the paper lead stuff this year. I haven't done that yet. And yeah, I forgot about Express MLS. That was really good for us too. So thanks for bringing that one.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll have a little bit of overlap, but then I'll have slightly different stuff on my list. So
All right.
then go through that. We've got a few lists to go through, so we'll just try and run down these fairly rapidly. So for my best new services, and I put in parentheses, maybe only new to me, but Deal Lab Jasper is a referral that came from you.
Yeah.
And
that's
that's a game changer for me. That is, and it's not just because Matt Larson gives you really great topics on a weekly basis and wisdom and, you know, stuff from his experience, but it's also because there's a database of all the episodes and even a database of some of the resources he has, like things like scripts for cold calling, or, you know, just metrics for cold callers. There's a lot of different stuff if you go into the Deal Lab like the toolkit, and you just go through. He's got a lot of resources there that I've shared with my team that have been really helpful. And then other stuff, that he refers us to, like, for example, one of the things, and for anybody who's hasn't heard us talk about Deal Lab before, it's like $49 a month to be part of a mastermind. And, a lot of real estate gurus will say it's really important to be part of a mastermind and to be with peers who are investing and to talk to somebody who's been down the road so you don't make all the mistakes. Well, this guy gives you that for $50 a month for a weekly mastermind session, with a topic, and then all these resources. So it's a game changer, and I highly recommend it. And it's been great for us this year. So kudos to Matt Larson on that one. It's just a real giveaway that he's doing. And then Investor Base came out of, when you talk about Investor Base, Jasper, this is a game changer for us. It's allowed us to connect with more quality buyers, and we've added some VIP buyers to our list because of Investor Base, because it really, these guys who invented it, they are wholesalers, and they were trying to not be using third-party services like big wholesalers, Jasper, that you've talked about, or other services that you spend a lot of money with online to get buyer leads. They were like, we're going to figure this out. And they created this platform where you can go onto a map and find all the buyers who have bought around your property. And then, they have them categorized by landlords or by builders or, flippers. And it's just awesome. It's really good. And it's like you said, it's a backup comping tool. It's a way to meet buyers, and it's just a great service. So it's a game changer for me. And that's new this year. That's a new service this year. They just launched this year. I put in here two on the same line, Loom and Zoom AI. So Loom this year launched AI services so that now you can go into Loom and make a video, and then it will transcribe your video and make it into an SOP for you, standard operating procedure. And since I've still been building my SOP for my business, it's just been huge because I can go in there and make a video, and I no longer have to try and create an accompanying document for that. It'll do that for me, and that's brilliant. So using AI, this is the era of AI. So anywhere you can use that to make your work easier is a great thing. And then I just put Zoom AI because we're using Zoom for this podcast, and this will give us a transcription of the podcast with, an outline of all the stuff we've talked about. So that I use that for the podcast. I use it for team meetings. I no longer, need to make notes on team meetings, or nobody on the team has to, because we have a transcription that automatically gets shared with all team members who attended the meeting, and it's just there. So AI on both those platforms. I got in here Colby Personality Assessments. A lot of people are familiar with DISC Personality Assessment, and there are others out there. Colby's been really great for us this year, and it just helps to understand each team member and what their strengths are, and to try and put everybody in a position where they can really win. And then just to help inter department or inter team member communication too, because we can all understand each other a little bit better and how we're wired. So that's a big one for us. And then the last one, I just put three small ones on one line here. Jasper, you've shared this one before. It's not new to you, but the RAH Mobile Notary Services.
Oh, yeah.
They do everything for you. You go on the one platform and they do the booking, and they just handle it. You just upload your docs to them. You don't have to do a lot of interaction with the seller. So that's a really nice service. It's just an upgrade from, going on to 123 Notary and finding a notary and calling them and coordinating with the seller. These guys do that for you. So pretty great. iPostal is new to me this year. Jasper, you've had a virtual PO box for a while, but I was using an old-fashioned PO box where I actually went to the PO box at the post office and got the mail out of it. And now I can go on to my online PO box, or actually I have a team member who does it now, filter through, throw out anything I don't want to have, and then forward anything that I do want, like a check or a contract or whatever it is. So that's a really nice one. That's a game changer for me, because I no longer go to the post office. And then
that's great.
And then a little one that I shared recently that's kind of fun, that's new to me, kind of a shiny object right now, but it's typing.com, because I want to get better at typing so I can be more efficient. And that's a nice little platform where it just walks you through typing and gives you exercises. And it's kind of like Duolingo if you've ever tried to learn a language. It's fun and easy. So that's my list of best new services, or
platforms. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing those. You definitely shared a few that I should have put on my list too. Loom is a huge one. I'm glad you shared that. I didn't even think of that. And another one I forgot until I heard you talking, but you turned me on to Slack, and that's been a huge game changer for me. I know it's like living under a rock. People have had that for 20 years probably, but for me, that we switched. I think we switched like Q1 this year or Q2, and it's been great. It's been great, and there's so many automations too. That's one of the things I really love about it. And so again, with the online leads that I'm trying to jump into now, we get notifications like in multiple different places. So when we get an online lead, we all get a text, we all get an email, and we all get a Slack message. And so now we have it in 3 places, and so the Slack thing is awesome. And then also, every time we get a contract, everyone gets a Slack update, and every time we close a deal, all that stuff. So it's really nice to have the automations as well.
Yeah, it integrates with a lot of platforms, and we use it. We have a lot of fun stuff in there too. Like we have a general thread where you can post anything. So you can, people post family trips or, whatever, just personal stuff. And then we make it fun. The cool thing about Slack is it's just fun because it's colorful, it's lively. You can use emojis. You can just, it can make it just makes work a little bit more lively. And we don't have any feedbacks from Slack or anything, but it's a great tool. So yeah, thanks for throwing that in there. All right. So next category we have here is books. Well, I threw in books or podcasts here, Jasper. So we kind of forgot to do books and podcasts. We do this every week when we do our podcast. We talk about books or podcasts we've listened to. And I forgot when I told Jasper, like, here's a good list of topics. So we're kind of going by the seat of our pants on the books and podcasts. But you want to just throw in a couple top choices for that for the year, Jasper?
Yeah, definitely. I guess I'll throw in maybe like my favorite book of the year, favorite podcast of the year, maybe. I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
I think like you said, we didn't prepare much for the books and podcast section. Everything else I'm ready for, but that was kind of a last minute addition. But I think I'll just share the first one which comes to mind, and we've talked about it before. But I think my best book of the year was Buy Back Your Time, and it was more so a reminder than like a new concept, but I just really like the way he structured it in the book. He had a lot of actionable items that you can do in every chapter. And just the way it was written, I guess, resonated with me a little bit differently. And I think it really helped me give me a kind of a kick in the pants to actually delegate more stuff. And this year for me has been the biggest year of delegation that I've ever had. And to the point now where it's like, obviously I'm still looking for more talent. I want to improve my team, but right now I'm not talking to any sellers to close a deal. And that's a huge for me. And that's, new. That's new to me. Just the first 3/4 of this year, I was doing that. And I needed to talk to sellers to get a deal across the finish line. And now I'm still talking to buyers, but I really don't mind that. And obviously I'll outsource that at some point, but just that has been like a huge thing off my plate, and so many other small things that I've gotten off my plate. So I think a lot of that is thanks to that book. And so, yeah, I definitely recommend that. It's by Dan Martell. And then for podcasts, I would say my favorite podcast is just Alex Ramosi pod. I think his is the best. And just this week, while I had some off time while my team was off and stuff, I was listening to a bunch of his podcasts, and I like them because it's like just solo episodes of just like kind of his advice, his takeaways, and it's good for me because I used to watch his YouTube channel a lot, and then it became too much for me because they did so much editing and stuff. And so the podcast is just what I used to like about his YouTube, which is just straightforward content and just actionable items that you can take advantage of right away. So just listen to those this week. Listen to them on the plane, when I was flying to and from LA, and just got a bunch of takeaways from that. So I would say his podcast is number one. Layla's podcast is great too, his wife. And then if I had to mention another one, I still actually listen to Wholesaling Inc. from time to time. I just kind of cherry picked episodes, but I still love Brent Daniels, and he shares some great stuff from that one too. So obviously those are probably my 3, especially if we're talking, real estate specific. Obviously those are probably my top 3. So yeah.
Nice. Thanks for checking in on those. Yeah, those that's all stuff. I mean, I'll just, my list is very short too, because like I said, for some reason, even though it's really important to us, we didn't think to add this as a category. So we might even do another episode on books and podcasts, like a summary of that. That could be fun. If so, let us know in the comments if that would be cool for you, because we consume a lot of content as far as books and pods and stuff. So I had, for my books and pods of the year, I had my number one is Alex Hormozy. So there you go. 2 votes for that. Just because he brings so much value. He doesn't hold anything back, and he is really good at breaking stuff down, and he's no bullshit. And he, and he studies, he's passionate about business and growing business and helping people improve and grow and succeed. So just all those elements are there. And so anyway, that's my number one content. And then I had the Naval Almanac, which I've gone through twice this year. Naval Ravikant, he just has great ideas on building wealth and success, and I just get a ton of value from that. I guess when I'm talking about that, I could go on the heels of that with How to Live by Derek Sivers, which, Jasper, I think you reread this year, and I reread. But that's on the same heels of that, like philosophy about your approach to life.
Yeah.
The Almanac has a little bit more on success and prosperity and like dollars and cents as far as how to get. He has a section called How to Get Rich, and it's really good stuff. And then I'm going to throw in. You threw in Dan Martell, and I just recently read that, and it was really good. But I also have to give props to Dan Sullivan and his content, and like 10x 2x was really big for me in the early part of this year. Not just the book, but also he's got a couple of really good podcast episodes on a 10x versus 2x mindset. Like it's easier to do 10x than 2x, or how it just expands your mindset thinking that way. So I would throw that in, just the Dan Sullivan stuff. And those are the three that I've written down. So we'll move on to the next one. And the next category I have here is, and if you get tired of going first, let me know. I'll go first on some of these too. Gains and wins of the year. And this is just a category, just like where we really saw a gain, or what was really felt like a victory for us this year. It could be deals we closed. It could be actions we took. It could be, anything that you would put in the category of a gain or a win for the year. So do you have stuff for that, Jasper?
Yeah, definitely. I would say one of the wins that continues to be a win for us is just SMS marketing. That's been huge for us still, and it's still our best performing channel. I think we're a little bit down this year, but kind of down in all my ROIs this year, but it's still about 6.5x for us, which is, still great. And I actually I underwent kind of a big project on that I think is going to pay off in the new year. And so just this past weekend, I sat down and rewrote all of our message templates myself. And next time, I think I'm going to have a copywriter do it and kind of split test. But I just sat down and rewrote all that. I noticed, some mistakes that I hadn't caught before, and some of these were the ones that Launch Control gave to us, and they were pretty bad.
Terrible.
But, anyways, I just, it was working, and so I never looked under the hood, and that's my mistake. And so I took a chance to, while I was doing my yearly review, to actually, take a deeper look and look at all of our stuff, and I realized a bunch of mistakes. So I rewrote everything. We have probably 50 templates, and every template has 5 variations. So it's a lot of work, but I think that's going to pay off big time. And also noticed that a few of those were over the character limit. So we were sending 2 texts, or getting charged for 2 texts every time we send one. So, now just by fixing that, we're going to get doubled output on that. So so that was a big win for me, doing that. And then like I mentioned before, I delegated more things this year than I ever have before, so that's a huge victory for me. I hired someone finally to help me with TC and a bunch of other stuff, and he's still kind of training and stuff like that, but he's been a huge help, even at the proficiency that he is now. So that's been awesome for me. Also outsourced my contract stuff. That was another thing that I feel like was holding me back. Like every time we needed to send a contract, I was actually the one doing it. So that was horrible. And now someone on my team is dedicated to doing that, and it just happens in the background. And I just get sent contracts when it's my turn to sign. So it's nice.
You don't even have to do that though.
Yeah.
My team's authorized to sign on my behalf, just FYI.
Yeah, that's true. I still want to review them. Maybe I'll do that next year. But and then the text blast has been a victory for me. I finally implemented that after how long it's been on the buyer side. I never did that before, and that's been a huge game changer for me. And then just using ChatGPT a lot more this year has been great, specifically for me. with cleaning up data, like cleaning up spreadsheets and stuff. I used to send that to my virtual assistant to do it, and now I can literally do it in 5 seconds, and so it's nice. I'll still send like him more bigger projects and stuff, but this can do most things like really quickly. And then also just like creating documents and stuff has been really helpful for me. Anytime I need to create a document that I don't have, I just ask it to do it, and it's pretty much spot on first time. So that's been awesome. And then not only that, but like helping with planning and stuff. And I think I mentioned this on a few pods back, but I asked the ChatGPT a bunch of questions and I asked it to ask me a bunch of questions. And since I did that, I've noticed a lot more of like personalized feedback on how to, on their advice on how to grow a business, which they're pulling from all these different sources. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been great. And then I started to implement a transaction fee in Q4, and that's been huge for me. So I recommend that to anybody who's not doing that. But ours right now is $4.95. I might increase it, but right now I just started off at $4.95, and we're just adding that as a line item on the HUD. And basically, we make an extra $4.95 every deal now. So that's been great. Obviously, that's not really like profit for me, but now it pretty much covers all of my costs. And so it's kind of like a, I guess, I don't know what to call it, but it helps me like pay all my team bonuses and all that stuff without like cutting into the net profit of our deals. And also helps pay for like the campaign and stuff because we have like COGS, like cost of goods sold on every deal. Like we pay for pictures, we pay for lockbox, we pay for notary sometimes, we pay the team for bonus. So now like charging that fee and having the buyer pay it now kind of eliminates all those costs for me. So that's been good. And then
You get any pushback on that?
What's that?
You get any pushback on that from buyers when they look at the HUD?
Not so far, no. So yeah, that's been good so far. And I actually noticed working with a couple bigger companies, so like New Western we've mentioned before, but they charge two fees. I think one of them is the same, $4.95, and I think the other one's like $3.95, something like that. But they charge one which is like a funding fee, and the other one is like a transaction fee. So they do it. And then another company that's huge called Home Investors, they do it. And so I was just like, well, why not do it? Because like buyers are already familiar with paying it with these people. And so yeah, no real pushback yet. But even if I get like 80 or 90% of buyers to go through with it, then that's still a huge victory, even if I have to maybe waive it for 10% of people. But
yeah.
Yeah, so that's been great. And then ended the year with 43 5-star reviews. We got one more this week. And so fell short of my goal slightly, but still a huge victory for me. I didn't go back and count how many we got this year. I'll have to actually do that, but I think we got at least like 25 this year. Oh yeah, we got a lot of 5-star reviews this year. So that's been awesome. And then we got the most contracts we've ever gotten, 122 contracts this year. So that's huge. That's just over, slightly over 10 per month, which is great. And I already touched on this, but just listing the homes on MLS has been a victory for me. I'm doing it with vacant properties right now, and I was only doing it with the ones that we couldn't sell. But seeing how it's worked well, I might consider just doing that on all of our vacant deals going forward. So I might just try that in the new year and see how it goes. And then last thing that I had written down is just two huge deals that we were fortunate to close this year. We closed one for 50,000 and one for 65. And so those are two huge deals that we got to close this year. And yeah, those are all my wins.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a great list.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I did a much shorter list because I don't know, I was mindful of the time. I'm not
Yeah,
critical.
sorry.
You zip through, but
I'll
anyway,
go shorter on the next one.
no, don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. We're fine on time. I just
Yeah.
I was trying to so anyway, I put joining strategic coach for me because that was a goal of mine for a couple of years, and I actually got declined by strategic coach the first time I tried to get in. So I got accepted into strategic coach, and I did the program this year, and I did get a lot of value out of it. I think the value I got was a reinforcement of a lot of the stuff around the self-managing business and hiring, and delegating. That was a big piece of it. The personality assessment, the Colby, and I actually did a couple other ones through them. I did Print and Clifton Strengths, and so I got to know myself better through that, and then I got to know my team better through that too. So I did get a lot of value there. I got some value by networking with other entrepreneurs and seeing entrepreneurs in other businesses, not just real estate, crushing it, and how they were thinking about their business and going about their business. So that was cool. So I got to be around some really high level entrepreneurs, and I got a ton of value out of that. So that's a win for me. Talk about closed deals. We did our biggest assignment this year, and that was $54,000. And we did that in, I think, February. We closed that. So that was a big win. I think our prior biggest one to that was like 30 something. So, and then we found a new county this year that ended up accounting for like half of our closed deals. We went into this county and we were successful. And so we started going deeper and deeper. And I think we had half of our revenue. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's like half of our deals came from that county that we closed this year. And we closed 40. So far, we're at 43, I think, closed this year. And we have 2 more that might close on the 30th of December. So we'll see. But yeah, so we closed over 20 deals in one county, I think. And then the hires were a big one for me. I hired an executive assistant who became an operations manager. And that's a huge win for me because he's taken a huge amount off my plate. He's taken over transactions. He's taken over oversight of team members and hiring and training, systems management, just so much stuff he's just taken over, and that's been a really big victory for me. And then we also hired another acquisitions person, which took pressure off our first acquisitions person and also took more off my plate. I was already not really talking to sellers, but I was having to pick up the slack when we got too swamped in acquisitions, and now I'm not having to do that. So that's a big victory. And then we also hired a bookkeeper just at the end of this year, just in December, and that's been really big. I thought I had hired a bookkeeper last year on Online Jobs PH, but they didn't really seem to help, even though, I thought like, oh, this is great. And they were really highly qualified and had a good resume. But the feedback from accountants I've talked to was your books are not in good shape. So anyway, we hired this person, this company that's based here in North Carolina. They're very reputable, recommended by a few different real estate investors. The onboarding experience was great with them. And they actually referred us to a payroll company, and we have to do payroll, for our S Corp. And they've got that all set up. So that's been a really big one. And that's what I got for gains and wins.
Nice.
Yeah. So then I've got the last 3 categories we have here are lessons learned, and then we have sort of a worst of or discontinued or canceled, and then up and comers, things we're testing and trying out for 2000, the upcoming year, or at the tail end of this year. So how about lessons? Do you have lessons learned on your list?
Yep, definitely quite a few.
Yeah.
So one that I'm going through right now is just post possession. So I don't want to say, never do it, because I've had a bunch of ones this year that actually went smoothly and were successful. But I guess I would say if you're going to do a post possession, just make sure the seller is like, I don't know, like a nice way to say it, but just make sure the seller is like kind of sound mind, and that they're going to kind of follow through on what they're promising. And also make sure to do at least $10,000 or more in terms of a holdback for them. And then last thing I'll say is maybe increase the penalty, because I was doing $250 per day as like a overage penalty. Like, for example, if you agreed on 10 days that they have and it takes them 11, then they would be deducted 250 from that holdback. So I would say maybe do $500 or something, more. So that's kind of a few lessons on that specifically, if you're dealing with people staying in the property after closing. And then next lesson that I learned is just don't be afraid to cut out a marketing channel, even if it's working for other people, if it's not working for you. And for me this year, that was cold calling. I think I let it go on a bit too long, because literally, I had friends in the same market and they were crushing it with this same exact company, and I just wasn't. And so I kind of was hoping that, things were going to turn around, and things were going to turn around, and it just didn't for me. So I ended up cutting that out. But I think I probably could have done that 3 to 6 months sooner and just saved a bit of money there. And then
Or a lot of money.
yeah. And then
$1,500
another
a
one
month.
is Another one that I learned this year is kind of working with more heir and estate deals. And so what I realized there is that they're not always going to work out, and that's okay. And for example, I wasted, or I guess I didn't waste, but I spent like 2,200 bucks on one of these properties because I thought it was, going to be able to close. And basically the estate attorney told me, like, after spending a bunch of time, he was like, dude, this is not like solvable pretty much. And he hired a private investigator, all this stuff. And so on that, it was a wash for me, and I kind of just have to write that off as a loss. But on these other two deals that I just got good news this week, it looks like we're gonna be able to close them off of a much smaller investment. And so I guess the lesson there is to kind of find a great estate attorney, number one, and then to kind of treat those fees as like a marketing channel for yourself. Like, let's say, for example, you spend 5,000 over, I don't know, 5 deals on estate fees, and maybe 2 of them don't work out, but maybe 3 of them do, and then you just close 3 deals off a $5,000 spend. So that's what I'm going to look at it as in the new year, and take on maybe a few deals that I might not have taken on, just because of like error issues. We used to just turn it down up front if someone said that they were like there was a bunch of errors involved. But now that I have this connection with this dude, I'm just going to take it on and kind of treat it like a marketing expense, and throw a few $100 at it and see if you can make some progress. And if so, then maybe we'll keep going and be able to close it. So that's been a win for me. And then the require title services, I mentioned that before. But that was a huge victory for me just in one property I worked with this year. But if anyone hasn't heard that podcast, they basically help you find old liens that might be on a property that are not released. And so for that one, they charged me $500, and I think that's just their standard fee. So that's a huge victory, is just to use them instead of wasting your time trying to go down the rabbit hole yourself. Just hire this company, and you could even ask your buyer to pay for that fee, and then they'll just find the lien holder and they'll clear it out for you. So that was a great victory to find those people. And then next one I had was to find a great bookkeeper. I ended up moving on from my bookkeeper and switching to a new one this month. And it's been night and day for me. So those guys were good, but they weren't great. And just noticing the difference has been really nice. So I would definitely recommend that. Maybe not when you first start out, but once you start, closing consistent deals, definitely get a bookkeeper in place so that you can know your numbers, because that's the most important thing in the business. And then another lesson that I already touched on in the wins, but I would say to include a transaction fee on all your deals, because most of these buyers that are used to working with companies like New Western or Home Investors, they're paying those fees anyways. So if you're going to charge one, they're probably not going to even bat an eye. And so if I had been charging that over the years, I have a bunch more money in my pocket just charging that, like, quote unquote small fee at closing. So that's awesome. And then just a reminder to myself, but always get at least 3 offers from your buyers before you sell a deal. Even if maybe you get a full price offer right off the bat, then typically that means you have a great deal and you might be able to sell it for over asking. So always wait to get at least 3 offers. And tactic you can use to do that is to just blame it on a partner or maybe your team or something else. Just be like, oh, well, my partner, I have to run everything by my partner. Or you could be like, oh, my team's working this deal as well. I can't accept a deal without, having a meeting with them and checking. So there's a couple of things that I've used to kind of hold buyers off. And usually if a buyer is pressuring you to sell them the deal, then you can probably get a lot more money for it. So that's just a lesson that I've learned over the years. And then next is to make sure to get all sellers to sign up front. That's something that I finally made a shift to this year. In years past, I would just get like one spouse to sign. And then if something happens and they sign with someone else, then your contract's not really binding. So this year, instead of like kind of rushing to get a contract signed and just trying to get a deal signed, we just have the patience up front to tell them, hey, I know you're ready to sell, but we really can't do this without having both signatures on the contract. We can't move forward without that. So that's really helped us. And in a couple of scenarios, we did have to enforce our contract, and because of that, we were able to do that. So just recommend that to everyone. I know every state is different, but even if your state doesn't necessarily require it, I would still say you should do that, just to be on the safe side. And then lastly, I would just say stay lean, keep your business as lean as you can, and don't be in a rush to hire people to kind of fill seats. Just make sure when you're hiring that it's the right culture fit and it's the right person. They're like an A player. And don't be in a rush to, if someone like leaves or you have to fire someone, don't be in a rush to replace them. And maybe your existing team could kind of rally around them and even fill in the gaps, and you might not even have to hire someone else. So that's nice to learn this year. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, we let a key player go this year, and the team really did rally, and everybody picked up some slack and did some more. And then when we brought the next person on, the business was stronger.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for checking in. Yeah, that thing about the two seller signatures too, like Jasper said, in North Carolina, it's law. You have to have both people, even if they're not both on the deed. But we had one that happened that way, and the sellers got wise to it, and they were like, "Oh, you don't really have a contract with us, so you got to give us $5,000 more, or else we're not going to go with you."
Yeah.
So that's happened. So it's worth it to take your time. And if the other thing about it is like, if the sellers can't both sign, then how serious are they about really selling?
Yeah.
So it's better to not. And that probably goes into one of my lessons. I'll just jump into mine too.
Yeah.
Um, well, so my first one is who not how, and who not how never ends, right? Um, and that just means like each time I think, wow, I've really crushed it. I've gotten somebody to take this over, and now I'm so much more free. But then I see the other stuff that needs to get taken over. So, like Dan Sullivan wrote a book, and Jasper mentioned Dan Martell. It's a similar mindset of like, uh, get people to do the things that you're not good at or that you don't like to do or that drain your energy. And the more you do that, the more you can bring your strengths to the business and grow the business. So every time I think I've really got my head above water and I'm really in good shape, then I see the next things that need to be delegated. So it doesn't end. And even if you're new in this type of business, like get your first person as soon as you can, which is usually a cold caller or an admin assistant. Um, and the whole idea of working on the business, not in the business. Whenever I'm working in the business doing stuff that feels like I'm somebody could do for a lot less money, I get really frustrated because I've experienced enough like handing stuff off and being able to work in my zone of genius more.
Yeah.
My next one was similar to some of the stuff you shared. Just seller vetting and continuous contact is what I wrote down. Paying more attention to these relationships. So, we've had a number of ghosted sellers this year, and sellers are getting a lot of calls and texts and stuff from a lot of investors. So it's really just you know recognizing we're practicing in our business. What is this personality on the disc profile? Either D, I, S, or C. So what makes this person tick? We're trying to practice that, and then practice communicating it with them in that way. But also just seeing where, are we getting a weird feeling in our gut when we're talking to this person that seem like they're dishonest or not entirely forthcoming with us? Just we don't want to be in business with people who are gonna do stupid stuff later. And I'm
Mhm.
using nicer words than are in my brain, but uh, I'd rather say no to a deal and pass on a seller when there's red flags early in the first conversations than to go into contract with them and then find a buyer and then have them do weird stuff at closing or back out or ask us for more money or whatever, crazy stuff
Yeah.
sellers. So, so it's like really vetting the seller is what we're working on. The business is like, hey, is this person straightforward? Are they doing what they say and saying what they do? In the first few communications, are they calling or texting us back right away and responding, completely to the question or, with the information we've requested from them, et cetera, et cetera. Just getting really clear about like, what is this person going to be like to work with through the first few interactions before you really, jump into bed with them. And then after you decide that this person is worthy of doing a contract with, that it's somebody you want to work with, then it's staying in contact with the person because people get nervous. A lot of these people, it's their first real estate deal, or we do real estate deals every day. People who we're buying from often are doing a handful of these in their lifetime, or maybe only
Yeah.
one. So they get nervous, they don't understand, and it's important for us to stay in contact with them, to let them know how the process is going, and just to make sure they're still engaged with us, because they are. I mean, don't have any illusions. All these people are getting calls and texts from a bunch of other wholesalers while you're under contract with them. So some people I've found are in integrity and they won't talk to other people. Some people really just want it off their plate, and once they sign with you, they're not talking to anybody because they just don't want to deal with it. But some people are just like, oh, I'll take all these calls and texts. Why not? Just maybe I'll get a better offer. And so you do have to keep that relationship strong. So that's been one of the biggest things this year is, and that we'll work on going into next year, is really working on the seller relationships. and recognizing that you don't have to do a deal with every seller who's willing to do a deal with you, and if they're really willing and it's really easy, maybe there is a red flag in there, maybe their property already fell out with another buyer, or, maybe they are just talking to 3 different people and they just want your offer so they can compare it to somebody else or take it to somebody else and try and get a contract. So that's the big one, is just vetting sellers more. And then I think you had this one too, but cold calling, not so great. 1.6 ROI for us in 2024. So for every dollar we spent on cold calling, we made $1.6 back, $1.60. That's a lot of energy and a lot of movement, and for not a big return. So we can put that energy and those dollars elsewhere and hopefully get a bigger return. And those places for us will be direct mail and probably some of the pay-per lead stuff this year. And then this kind of piggybacks with number one, but say no to difficult people. There are more deals, right? Like buyers too. If you got a buyer who wants to pay you full price, but they're a complete train wreck, don't deal with them, or they're just life difficult, or they're big drama, or, whatever. It goes with buyers and sellers, and also applies to attorneys or any other service people you might be dealing with. Like I had a notary this year who just freaked out on me and was just a total jerk, and I was just like, there are other notaries in Washington, D.C. or wherever he was, like I was like, okay, see you later, buddy. I guess you don't really want my business, but he just was really the point is just like, real estate is hard enough and stressful enough to do. This is a stressful business. We don't need to be dealing with people who increase the stress. And early on in the business, or any time in the business, I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and it's always hard to like let go of a buyer or a seller because you're afraid there's not going to be another one, but there will be. And actually, these people will waste so much of your time that you might have found 2 or 3 other buyers or sellers in that time. So that's a big one for me. And that's all I had written down for that category.
All right. Those are some good ones.
Thanks. And so how are we doing on time here? We got 12:43, so we should be able to wrap this up by 1. So we got the next category is worst of the year, or things we've discontinued or canceled. They don't have to be the worst things, but they might just be things that didn't work, or they might be the worst. But you have some stuff written down for that?
Yeah, I was trying to think about this one. I didn't have too many. Obviously, trying not to badmouth people, but main thing for me was click send was really not good. So, if anyone is looking into buyer texting, there's a lot of options out there. It doesn't have to be easy text, but click send was no good for us. So I would not recommend that for anyone. And I mean, I could shout out the cold call company, but I don't want to badmouth them. But that was one of the services that I obviously moved on from. And then the only other service that I was going to mention is Rapid Assistance, but I don't want to badmouth them either. But I just didn't have success with them this year. So those are kind of 3 things that I moved on from. But I was trying to think of other things. I was specifically like services and stuff. I couldn't think of any. So did you have more for that?
I've got a few. I'll jump in, and then maybe it'll trigger some other ideas for you. You can jump back in. So, and again, like, we're not here to badmouth anybody, but we do want to shoot people straight. So if something really doesn't work, we don't want somebody going down the path with that company. That's part of what this podcast is for, is to help people. So I've just got a general one. Worst of, discontinued, canceled, cold calling. We've already talked about it. Just wasn't good for either of us. It doesn't mean it can't be good for other people. Obviously, Jasper, you have feedback from friends who are investors who said they're doing well with it. But cold calling, I think for me, my opinion is that there are just so many people out there doing cold calling right now that sellers, especially in popular markets, are fatigued. And I just think that the response rate's going down, and the lead volume is going down. That's been my experience. So, and I have to say, like, we love Matt Larson, but Rapid Assistance was the worst cold calling company, and I did a split test with another company, and they just weren't good. The quality of their leads, the volume of their leads. The people are really nice. Like the people you talk to at the company and the email back and forth with, they're really friendly and helpful and kind, and like the infrastructure is there, but the quality of the cold calling, not good for me. So
same here.
And we used two different cold calling services and split test them, and that was the worst of the two. So launch control, we dropped launch control. Jasper, I know this is your primary SMS platform. We had a bad experience with them, and if you guys have looked at my TikTok or YouTube shorts or stuff like that, and we've talked about on the podcast too, just like I had a drop service with launch control where we had problems with the carriers and getting blocked. And so I lost my trust with them because I felt like they handled it really poorly with as far as preparing us for, possible issues that we could have with carriers, and then fixing the damage once the damage was done and we were blocked and frozen. So we're with a different SMS platform that we find has better service, and we like the platform better, and it has more features. I wouldn't say not to go with launch control, but we did discontinue it this year. I've had good experience with them, but when I'm doing a split test, they're the lesser of the two platforms that we've used. So I've dropped them, and we're fully on board with Smarter Contact now.
Nice.
Smartphone dialer. This one I would definitely not have any problem telling you not to use. And the reason is because they advertised it as a dialer, and they told us we could use it as a multi-dialer. And then we got blocked by the carrier really fast within a few weeks, like a month, maybe less. And our smartphone account is still frozen. So it's the same kind of thing where once you get blocked by the carrier, then it takes forever to get back on board. And it just threw a monkey wrench in our business. And these people did not do their homework as far as how to protect us against carrier blocking. And that's part of your job if you have a platform that's doing multi-dialing or SMS, in my opinion. So they failed us on that. And now we've had, it causes us to scramble. Now people who are trying to reach out to us, we have 8 phone numbers or more in Smarter Contact, our smartphone, I'm sorry. And now nobody can reach us on any of those numbers. You get a busy signal. And so we've had to scramble and reach out to people. And my dog's got something going on. It's okay. It's okay, honey. It's all right. So anyway, they shit the bed for us. Dumpster fire is what I wrote down here. So, and their service wasn't great about it either. It just was, they're fine, but I wouldn't, we still are using smartphone for, what are we using it for? Well, we were going to keep it as our primary business communications system, but now because of this, we can't use anything. So now we're switching over to Just Call, which will be on my next segment. And we had a bad accountant. I'm not going to shout out the name of the accountant, but this accountant postponed our taxes, filed the extension, and then even after filing the extension, it was like a last minute filing of the extended period. And then after that was done, and we had a hard time communicating during the process. Their infrastructure is terrible. Their team members were asking us for stuff we had already sent in. It was just a mess. And then there was an error on my brother's tax return, to top it all off. So we fired them. But I guess the point of that is just get a good accountant, get somebody who's got good recommendations. I won't belabor that one. We discontinued the Triangle Real Estate Investors Association. I wouldn't badmouth these guys. I think they're great. But my criticism of them is that they really only cater to you if you're in Raleigh. I have talked to people on the board about having events in Durham, or even me hosting an event in Hillsborough, and they were kind of resistant to that. They're like, we've tried that, it doesn't work, and I'm like, well, why not try it again? And then so basically, for where I'm located, I have to drive 45 to 50 minutes one way to go to any real estate investing event in person, and I'm just not going to do that. So I canceled that. So again, I think it should be called Raleigh Real Estate Investors Association, not Triangle Real Estate Investors Association. And I've gotten value from them in the past, but I don't get value from their online stuff. So the only value I've gotten from them in the past is in person. And if I'm not going to, I've been a member for 2 or 3 years, and I found that I'm not going to drive 50 minutes one way through traffic to go to an event.
Yeah.
And then one small one is that we send shipping labels to our sellers sometimes, or we provide them to now RAH, but FedEx we found is better than UPS. We stopped using UPS for prepaid shipping labels, and we're using FedEx. We found their service to be better. and their platform to be better. And that's all I've got on that.
Yeah, FedEx is awesome. They got a great app too.
Yeah, the app is great. The platform's great. We just found UPS was giving us issues. And even with the delivery, sometimes like UPS will mark it as, the business wasn't open or undeliverable. And it's not that. It's just that the guy didn't feel like delivering, or he's overburdened or something. So he puts that on the thing and you get a delay. So
Yeah.
we got frustrated with that. It's like the driver, maybe the driver has too much volume. And so because they have to meet quotas, they'll mark it as undeliverable. Even, you'll get something where it's like 9 a.m. marked as 9 a.m. The attorney is there and they're saying that they couldn't deliver it or something. So anyway,
Yeah.
we just switched over. We don't have to spend a lot of time on that. All right. So last category, we're going to wrap this up quickly here, is up and comers or things we're testing for the new year. So you got stuff for that category?
Yeah. And we can definitely wrap up soon, but my appointment got delayed, so we're fine.
Oh, okay.
As I expected it would, which is fine. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hoping for the best. But yeah, you reminded me also with the bookkeeper thing. I touched on that, but that was the other thing that I canceled this year was my bookkeeper. And I don't need to shout them out, but it's been night and day with my new guy. He's been super helpful. And doing a bunch of last minute tax stuff this week and maybe early next week. So that's exciting, but it's also been just super helpful to have someone to actually, kind of tell me what to do. So that's been really nice. And this dude is, I guess I didn't mention it, but he's a combo like bookkeeper and CPA. And I think that's probably better anyway. So it's a bit more expensive. And that's why I didn't sign up initially, but I made a mistake doing that. So I guess you kind of get what you pay for sometimes with attorneys and CPAs and stuff like that. So
it's exactly what I did with a bookkeeper. I saved money on a bookkeeper, and it just made our books a mess for all of 2024. So
yeah,
if you have the money, spend it, worth it.
Yeah, so just wanted to touch on that on my end too. That's a great point that you brought up. But yeah, so for up and coming services, number one, I guess I can shout them out, but it's called Clicks Geek. That's what I'm working for, my PPC company. I actually worked with them a little bit last year, actually around this time, and like I shared on a previous pod, I was crunching the numbers at the end of the year and actually realized that it wasn't as bad as I thought, and definitely wasn't as bad as cold calling. So I decided to kind of jump back in, and also not only that, but I've heard on so many podcasts this year in particular, that people are just crushing it with PPC, and it seems that all the bigger wholesalers, the people that I look up to, like Brent Daniels for one, and a bunch of other people are just preaching PPC. And even Brent Daniels, which was kind of the biggest telltale sign for me, who was always, cold call. Even he switched. And so I was like, yeah. So I was like, even the king of cold calling is switching to PPC, then maybe there's something to be said there. So anyways, that's the long and short of it, but I'm diving into a PPC campaign with these guys, kind of starting off with like a small budget on a monthly basis, and just going to go from there. And hopefully in 3 to 6 months, I'll have some great results to share, and then I'll report back. So we'll see. And then also, I already mentioned this earlier, but I'm also going to be continuing with those 2 pay-per-lead companies I mentioned, propertyleads.com and motivatedSellers.com, if anyone's interested. And I've also heard of a few more, so I might experiment with a few more, but I might just keep it where it is with 3 different PPC channels. That might be enough for me, so we'll see how that goes. And then next, I don't think I shared this before with you or the podcast, so I'm excited about this, but somewhere.com is a talent pool or talent recruiter that I heard about, and I had a call with them and I was very impressed. And the guy who did my call was, obviously a virtual assistant. He was South African, and he was just very, very good. And I just thought while I was on the call, then I was like, man, like it gave me the sense like these guys are pros. And I was like, that's the sense that I want when someone talks to my team. Like I want to, whether it's, video call or a voice call, I want someone to speak to them. And after they get off the phone, be like, man, these guys know what they're doing. Like they're going to help me buy this house or sell this house or whatever it might be. And so just after that call, I was pretty much sold, like just by the way that he spoke to me. And it's obvious, it's also a better model than Rapid Assistance, in my opinion. You only have to pay them $500 up front rather than like, sometimes thousands. And like I said, it seems like a better company overall. And they told me that they would have me candidates in 5 to 7 days. And so that's a faster turnaround than I'm used to as well. So all of this is kind of speculative at this point, because like I said, I've only had this initial call with him, but just judging off of that. And then after our call got off, he immediately did what he said he was going to do. He emailed me immediately he connected me with my customer support representative who's going to be helping me. And I had another call with them the following day, and they were great too. So it's just like dealing with this company, it seems like they're on the ball. So hopefully it'll be good, and I'll find someone great with them. And if so, who knows? I might be kind of revamping my whole team using this company. So I'm excited about that. And also, they said that they have experience hiring for this like exact type of position, like real estate position, and they hire from kind of all over the world, whereas I've been more used to hiring directly from Philippines. They target the Philippines, they target South Africa, they target the South America, so that you can find bilingual people, and I think they target Europe as well. So just people from all over the place. So yeah, anyways, that's kind of a long-winded thing, but I'm excited about those guys. And then another thing that they turned me on to that I haven't tried yet, but this is up and coming section. So it's called deal.com. Don't know if you've heard of this one, but I haven't heard of it before. And that's with two E's. So DEEL.com. And it's a payroll provider. And payroll is something that I really want to get off my plate and just make it automated. And I really haven't found a way to do that with Wise. And I've also experimented with Payoneer and haven't found a way to do it with them as well either. So I heard of deal.com from this company somewhere, and that's who they use. And so I looked into it. It looks super cool. And I'm going to have a demo call with their guys, not this week, but the following week when everyone kind of returns to working. So I'm excited about that, and I'll report back on that one. And then another thing that is going to be up and coming for me is just continuing to post on social media. I've been trying to make a post like every time we close a deal, just trying to kind of tell a quick story. And I've been posting that on Facebook, and I've been getting a lot of activity there. And so far, the deals that I've been getting sent are not like great deals, but I'm still excited about it because just out of me posting like my deal stories and stuff, I'm getting people reaching out to me in North Carolina who have deals either to JV or to possibly sell that I can buy. So that's exciting, and I'm just going to keep doing that and hopefully generate some more like JV and referral deals next year, because that's something I went away from and it was on purpose, but now I'm realizing I want to bring that kind of back into the business. And so hopefully that can help me do that. And then I think the last thing that I'm going to be looking into next year is, well, two things, but two strategies that I kind of like to add on. And hopefully I'll, have more time to do that as I continue to grow the team and improve the team. But it's surplus funds and reverse flipping. So I think I've touched on both of those things before, but surplus funds is just when someone gets foreclosed on, those funds go to the county or the state, and you can claim those funds on behalf of the seller and take a percentage of that. So it's something I've heard of, for years, but I've never actually taken action and tried it. And so I think I'm going to try that going forward, at least, try to close one of those deals next year and kind of see how the process works. And then reverse flipping is something I heard of recently, and then I've heard of it being called a few different things lately, but it sounds very interesting to me. And so I think I'm going to try this on some deals next year, hopefully. And basically what you're doing here is you're buying the deed from the seller, and you're buying it for as cheap as possible, sometimes $0, sometimes just a couple $1,000s. And technically now you're the owner of the property. And you might think like, why on earth would anyone do that? And you're doing it in these scenarios where there might be super messy title, there might be a bunch of heirs involved. There might be like a tax lien, for example. I just heard of a story of this dude who bought a property. I think it was $3,000 he gave the seller because there was like a $25,000 tax lien or something. So he bought it subject to that. And obviously he didn't get title insurance. They just did a quitclaim deed with each other. But then he paid that off, fixed up the property. This property actually had squatters. So he paid off the tax lien, got the squatters out, fixed it up, and then sold it. And he made like $50,000. And so obviously there's a lot of work that goes into that, but when your entry price is so low, like when you're paying these sellers just a few $1,000s for the deed, then you have a lot of margin to play with to actually, put some money into the property and solve some of the other issues. So I want to get creative and start doing some more type of deals, because I haven't done that up until now. So I want to kind of branch out and hopefully do some more things. So yeah, that's it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. That's one of the things on my list for 2025 is to try and automate the payroll with the non-US team members.
Yeah.
Because, like, we set up payroll because I have, we have two people, US, my brother and me, and we have to do payroll for that with the S corp, which you probably have to do. You have to do payroll for yourself, right, from your S corp.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the non-US team members, they're just subcontractors, and so then we have to manually pay them through Wise every week, and we want to stop doing that.
Yeah,
So
same
that's
here.
it.
Same here. And with the paying yourself, like for United States, like it's super easy. Like for me, I just click a button in QuickBooks and it literally just does it. Does everything for me. And so hopefully, like I said, this thing I'll text it to you as well, but it looks like it's like that. It looks like you can automate it. So that's exciting. I'll see how it goes. But
Yeah, that's great.
no.
I like the new strategies too, just
Oh,
to see what's going to go on there. Yeah, I'm going to work on my social media this year too,
yeah.
which I've been saying for 2 years, but I'm going to really hopefully get better this year. So then my up and comers are, I mentioned earlier with the business phone system for business, which I guess you'd call it a general business phone system, like what's integrated with our Podio for all of our team members' phone numbers. We're switching over to Just Call, and that's prompted by like I said, the dumpster fire that was smartphone dialer for us.
Mhm.
We had to scramble and get a new phone system because you don't know when this is going to come back. Like they will tell you, oh, it'll be back, in a day or two. And then, it's been now a week and a half or something. So anyway, the silver lining was that we found this service called Just Call, which is a competitor of smartphone. It integrates with Podio really easily. My operations guy said it was like a matter of minutes, the integration. It was just so simple. And then the service has been great, and the platform is much nicer. The user interface is much nicer than smartphone. It's just more modern and more white space, and just looks like more pleasing to the eye and easier to use. And then they have
Yeah.
AI features within that too. You can have actually an AI person answer your phones and answer initial questions if you want to, and they'll transcribe your calls. Obviously, smartphone does that too, but they do some other AI stuff will actually analyze your calls and look at calls to action within your call and like send you a message. Like if your team member is an acquisitions person and they have a call, then the AI will analyze the call and say and break down some of the important points of it, and then send you the call to actions or even send you a reminder for that. It's really cool stuff. I haven't fully dived into it, but it looks like it's going to be a big upgrade from smartphone, and it's actually costs less per month. So that's
That's great.
kind of a no-brainer, and I'm excited to try that. So I'll report back on our progress with that. My next new tool is one called Priced, and it's PRYCD, and it's a place where you pull lists. It's a site that pulls lists, but they also price properties for you. So they will do everything on that platform. You can pull the list, you can skip trace it, and then you can price it and then send an offer. And they do all that. We're doing this for land. It's supposed to be especially for land. I think they do it for houses as well. And the guy that onboarded us with it, actually our rep from our direct mail company, said he normally will do the skip tracing with another service and then put it back into Priced for the pricing or something like that. So we're learning that.
Mhm.
But anyway, you can pull the list through them, and they will price your listings for you, and you can select like price based only on solds, price based on the market and solds, and you can even toggle like weight it towards solds. Like I was just looking at it yesterday, and they have a toggle, and it's like price based on listings on the market and price based on solds, and you can toggle it like weight at 75% solds and 25% on the market, or you can go 0, 100 or whatever. So it's
That's
a
cool.
pretty cool site so far, and it's highly recommended by the guys at REI Print Mail, and I really trust them. They're a great company that I've done direct mail with for years, and we're going to go back into direct mail. We're talking about this cold calling thing. Direct mail is one of our things we're going to go back into this year. So anyway, they turned us on to that, and I'm excited to try that out. And then another new tool we have is the Smarter Contact Dialer, and it's a little bit different than it's incorporating some AI too, and it's giving you more of like a warm. I don't know if I'm even going to explain this well, but I think I talked about it briefly on our last podcast. It's a dialer within the SMS platform, and so you're using the SMS that's already been sent to the person, and then you're dialing them if you haven't had an SMS response, and you're saying, hey, we're trying to reach you by text and just want to check with you. So it's a little bit more of a warm dial. There's some other features with it too. I can't really explain it right now, but we're trying this as an alternative with our in-house cold caller. And if she gets some better results than we've been having with cold calling using this dialer, then we'll stick with it. And if not, we will convert her into an SMS specialist or have her do some intake on acquisitions for some of the leads from the other sources.
Nice.
But we're going to give it a test as our last, because it's a little bit different than a traditional dialer, and it's got some the guys at Smarter Contact are really excited to roll it out, and they feel like it's a game changer for some cold calling. So we're going to try it.
Yeah.
And my last one is REI Sift, which is a list stacking platform. And so we've uploaded like, I don't know, 500,000 listings that we've pulled over the years into REI Sift, and we're in the process of stacking and filtering so that we can really see where we are when we're pulling new data and not waste time and money on stuff we've already dealt with, or pulling duplicate lists and stuff like that. So it's going to save us money on pulling lists, and it's going to help us to track our metrics in various markets, because we'll be able to stack and sort more effectively. So that's a work in progress. So I can report back on how that's going. I think I've talked about that in the past a little bit, but we're really going to be going after that. We actually are having a contractor work on just that part of it, getting everything organized in there in January. So I'll report back on that, and that's all I've got.
All right. Awesome.
And that's the wrap for to best of 2024.
Yeah.
Look ahead.
Awesome.
So it's kind of fun to go through that stuff.
Yeah,
So
I'm
if
excited to hear
you're
more about
listening,
that just call thing.
say it again.
I'm excited to hear more about the just call. I might be switching to that too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great, but I'll be the guinea pig and I'll let you know. But I think so far so good with them. They've been really great. We're actually porting over our numbers from smartphones, so we're not losing any of our numbers. There's a porting over process where you can, tell the just call. We told just call these are the numbers we want to bring over, and then they contact the old provider and they say we're making a port request, and then the old provider reaches out to me and says, well, whoever on my team, but was like, hey, we had a request to port these numbers over. Did you make the request? Yes. And then you sign a form, and then so we get to preserve all the numbers that we've been using for the last few years, which is great. And the integration with Podio is pretty awesome. That it's like the snap of a finger practically to integrate it, and it provides all the same features that smartphone does, but probably better. So pretty cool so far.
Are you still able to do you do drip sequences? Are you still able to do that?
That's a good question. I don't know, but I think we can still do those. That's a really good one for me to look into. I'll get back to you.
Yeah,
when I looked at it initially, I thought I had covered all the questions I needed to cover with features, but that's a good one. I'm assuming you will. Say it again.
I said that's the only thing I would wonder about. Everything else I'm sold.
Yeah. I'll let you know. But yeah, they're chock full of features from what I can see.
Yeah.
Assuming that if they're competing with smartphone, they have that feature as well. But I'll double check it and let you know.
Yeah, I think it would just be like a trigger from Podio to do it. It's probably doable, but yeah, let me know.
Well, it might even be something that's, we'll see. With all the AI stuff they have, I'm sure we can do it.
Yeah.
They have all the same call routing and forwarding and everything you can do with the call flows and the SMS flows and all that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, so if you like this type of format, let us know. We can do more like best of podcasts, best of books, or drill down on different subjects. So please give us your feedback, because we want to bring value to people who are listening. So let us know in the comments. And thanks for doing this with me, Jasper. This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right. See y'all.